Hey guys, today we will be discussing the classifications of the allowable deduction from gross income, focusing mainly on the optional standard deduction. What are these allowable deductions? These allowable deductions are business expenses or losses incurred by the taxpayer, which the law allows to reduce gross business income as to provide the taxpayer a just and reasonable taxable amount as the basis of the computation of income tax. There are three classifications: the optional standard deduction, the regular allowable itemized deduction, and the special allowance itemized deduction. For this video, we shall focus on the OSD. In the case of an individual taxpayer, provided that he is not a non-resident alien, the OSD is 40% of his gross sales or gross receipts. If an individual opts to use this, he is no longer entitled to deduct his cost of sales or services and his operating expenses, while in the case of a corporation, the OSD is 40% of its gross income. Assume the following data of a taxpayer: gross sales or income amounting to 1,500,000 pesos and cost of goods sold amounting to 800,000 pesos. For the individual taxpayer, the basis for the computation of OSD shall remain to be 1,500,000, since he is no longer entitled to deduct any cost of sales. Computing for the 40% of the 1,500,000, his OSD amount shall be 600,000. While for the corporation, the basis for the computation of OSD shall be the difference of its gross income and cost of goods sold, which amounts to 700,000. Computing for the 40% of 700,000, his OSD amount shall be 280,000. The computation for arriving at the taxable income is as follows. The gross sales of an individual taxpayer shall remain to be the basis of computing for his taxable income. Hence, the difference between 1,500,000 and 600,000, the OSD which was computed earlier, should result to his net taxable income, which is 900,000. Unlike with that of an individual taxpayer, the cost of goods sold of a corporation shall still be deductible from its gross income. Thus, the basis for the computation of its taxable income shall amount to the difference of the two, which is 700,000. 700,000 minus the 280,000, the OSD amount which was computed earlier, its net taxable income shall result to 420,000. Let us have some more examples. Ms. Dayan Torres showed the following income and expenses during the year. Compensation income as a teacher, 250,000. Sales of wagwag business, 300,000. Cost of sales, 80,000. Operating expenses without documentations, 50,000. How much is the deductible cost of sale and OSD amount if Ms. Torres opted to deduct OSD? The answer is letter A. Since Ms. Torres opted to apply OSD, she cannot anymore deduct her cost of sales, thus 0. Moreover, her compensation income as a teacher should be struck out in the computation since it is not allowed to be reduced with any OSD. The same goes with her operating expenses. The only amount which has a bearing in the computation is the sales of her wagwag business, which is used as a basis alone for computing for the OSD amount. 40% of 300,000 is 120,000. Thus, letter A is indeed the correct answer. Let us now compute for another example. X reported the following for the period. Sales, 1 million. Cost of sales, 300,000. Operating expenses, 100,000. Determine the OSD amount, assuming that X is a sole proprietor and a corporation. The answer is letter C. If X is a sole proprietor, The basis for the OSD computation is his sales alone. 40% of 1 million is 400,000. Hence, his OSD amount should be 400,000. If X is a corporation, the OSD computation shall be based on the difference of its sales and cost of sales, which is 700,000. 40% of 700,000 is 280,000. Hence, his OSD amount should be 280,000. Letter C is indeed the correct answer. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to Leila Sal's YouTube channel for more BUSLAW 3 reviewers.